Welcome back to another instant reaction edition of the Night Report podcast. Joining me once again, Richie Schneiderite. Richie, I'm not even going to ask for good news next time because it seems to be something we're just not going to see again for a while. We have another transfer in, another impact player transfer in my eyes, Raiqwon O'Neal, who has been a multi-year starter at Rutgers. I think this is his fifth year with the program upcoming. He has announced he is entering the transfer portal. He was the starting left tackle last year. He had the highest grade on PFF of all our offensive linemen. It sounded like he was going to be asked to be moved inside following the transfer of JD Dorenzo and Willie Tyler into the program. Richie, what are you hearing on this? And does it sound like he just didn't want to move inside?
Yeah, that plays a role in it. And on top of it, when you get a new coach, you're always going to see this. They're always going to want their guys at the end of the day. They're not going to want to, I shouldn't say leftover, because there are some good players. Like O'Neal's a good player, Melton's a good player. And you're always going to have some studs among that group, but you're always also going to want to get your guys in the fold, guys you recruited, whether that be via the portal or the high school route. But again, it's just like the Elijah Clark transfer. There's no sugarcoating this. It's a bad loss. 31 games at Rutgers over 4 years. 1 year was a redshirt year, so whatever, 28, 27, whatever it is. I think he started 22 games at Rutgers. He was all honorable mention, all Big Ten honorable mention this past season. I think he was the same in 2020. Yeah, I mean, he was their best pass blocker on PFF. He was the only one that was in the 80s. He does have a little bit of an injury history, and I'm sure that probably played a little bit of a role of wanting to move him inside. He has missed some time, whether that be this season or I think it was the 2019 season. I believe he started. I missed a couple, but yeah, it's not a good loss. And at the end of the day, it's a scholarship crunch too, so you're gonna have to get down on the numbers. It looks like, based on our count, they're sitting at 92. Whether you count, I guess you get an extra 7 scholarships according to the new NCAA rules. If 7 people transfer out, which I think they're well over that. I think they're at 8 or 9 transfers out or something like that. Maybe 10 at this point. But regardless, O'Neal's a tough loss. I think we both talked about it off air. I think he ends up going down south to SEC. Wouldn't shock me if he went back home to South Carolina. Yep. He was very, very close to doing that in his recruitment, but arguably, this was Chris Ash's arguably his biggest recruit or biggest get in his tenure at Rutgers. He beat out the multiple SEC schools, ACC schools. Yeah, I mean, it was a very good get at the time, and he produced a little bit. I don't know if he necessarily lived up to the hype behind all the offers, but very good player. And as we know with the portal, it's gonna be interesting to see where he lands, because he's gonna get a ton of offers.
I agree. Definitely get a ton of offers. He'll be playing probably in the SEC next year, probably starting. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up back at home, if he wants to return to, because I know, like you said, South Carolina was the runner-up in this one. There was some concern about and I'll say this because we've kind of mentioned the term dog a lot when we've been talking about the offensive line transfers. There was a question of how much dog he had in him in terms of his just, willingness to, block through the whistle and just be really aggressive, because he has all the physical tools. He was certainly the most athletic offensive lineman we had last year. So, I mean, I do think it's a loss, but I don't think this is as big as a loss as Elijah Clark. I mean, he's only got 1 more year. We're bringing in 4 offensive linemen. We want him to change positions. Like, he could have, not been a great guard for all we know. He obviously would have been able to pull because he has shown his athleticism on the field, but I do think this is a loss, but it might not be a massive loss.
Yeah, like you said, he doesn't have that mean streak that you really want in an offensive lineman. And it's kind of ironic because last night I was just turning on TV and I was just going through movies, saw The Blind Side. And I'm like, a perfect example. Like, he's just massive. He's a great offensive lineman, just zero mean streak. And you kind of need that in college football now, and football in general. You got to be mean. You got to be able to punch that other guy in the chest and throw him back. But Raiqwon just never had that mean streak. If he had that Zach Vinesky type of mean streak in his body and his technique, oh my God, he might be one of the best offensive linemen in the country. But he doesn't, and he lacks that, and it definitely hurts a little bit. But like you said, at the end of the day, it's not a huge loss. Willie Tyler's coming in with great experience in the Big 12 and looked pretty damn good against SEC teams down at ULM. JD Dorenzo, mind you, he was at Sacred Heart, still looks very, very good. And he's one of those two both show a lot of that mean streak that you really want along that offensive line. I actually have an article coming out next week, I think Monday morning, with Sacred Heart assistant coach, who's going to talk a little bit more about that mean streak and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's not a huge loss. You got two very good tackles coming in. You beat out some good programs for them, and end of the day, maybe the move to a guard wouldn't have worked out in the long run anyway. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
For sure. And last night, it's funny because I texted you. I was like, I don't think they're done in the portal. And you're like, what do you mean? I was like, they just started following some kid who just entered tonight, some guy, Steven Lasoya from Middle Tennessee State, who was a tackle. I looked more into it, and sure enough, yeah, they were definitely following him. He's gotten a handful of offers, but now this might make more sense because I think we've talked about this in the past where they have to report to the whoever the person is who like like I think it's the I don't know what the role is named specifically, but you have to go to this person and say, hey, I want to enter the portal, and they help you start that process off.
Yeah.
So the coaches and the staff definitely get a head start on these things. So if they know X player is going to leave, then they can start, making preparations for that departure. So maybe that's what was happening last night.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense too, because Lasoya is like a guard, so it would kind of fit the need for guard now all of a sudden. I'm sure it's technically, from what I know, when they go to whatever, I can't even remember the name either, their admin or whatever the hell it is. When they submit that paperwork, they get I think it's like a 2-day notice before it's formally announced that they're in the portal. That's when obviously like the Rivals portal account and all that stuff will go out and tweet it. But yeah, so Rutgers definitely knew this was coming, and it makes a lot of sense that they're just started following that guy. Lasoya out of Middle Tennessee. He's a guard. He fits the need that they have now, and we'll just kind of wait and see. It does make the depth chart a little more intriguing because now you got some options. You try to get another portal lineman. That's probably the number one scenario, but you do have some decent pieces, I think, in Ireland Brown and Troy Rainey. I think that they proved themselves. I think that they have potential at least. And then can a guy like Dunlap just kind of slide in there at left guard now? So there is some options. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I do think they're going to reach out in portal number one. That's going to be priority number one.
Yep, for sure. So that's really all we kind of know on this one, guys. It's been a very strange few days. Yeah, it's been 10 minutes since the since the announcement was made. I'd imagine we're still going to continue to reach out for offensive linemen given this news. Maybe this was part of the plan. Maybe he had like let them know almost immediately, like he's considering transferring, and because I'm sure that they were pretty transparent that they were going. I mean, you heard it in like the last press conference Greg gave this year that, they have to get a lot better. They've gotten a little better, but they need to get a lot better to get to like Big Ten average on the offensive line. So the writing was clearly on the wall because Greg isn't very tight-lipped when it comes to this kind of stuff. So when he even says something like that, it speaks volumes as to their plans. So, it wouldn't surprise me if more people transferred out. I don't know because the idea, if you're going to transfer now, you have to be pretty confident you'll actually land somewhere because, I mean, most schools have filled up already. Most schools are starting their spring semesters already. So it's a very tight window if you transfer right now. So a guy who's at the bottom of our depth chart, you'll probably expect them to stick around through at least most of the spring because they'll get a more true idea of where they stand. And also they're probably not going to land anywhere right now. So what's the point? I think you lock your scholarship in if you wait until like this first day of school as well. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
Probably more transfers to come. I just saw that we were the first school to offer Willis McGahee's son today, which is pretty wild.
Sitting there, I'm thinking like, holy shit! I was playing Madden when I was like 10 years old with McGahee, and then all of a sudden, like, they're offering his son.
Yeah, I can remember watching him in college. Remember that awful knee injury he had. I think he played at Rutgers one year too.
Did he? I don't even remember, to be honest. I can't. Yeah, I guess he did probably. Yeah, going back to the linemen though, like just you're bringing in 6 for a reason. You're bringing in 4 transfers you're bringing in 10 linemen, or what 7 recruits? I forget. 6 or 7.
We got 7 high school kids, and we got 4 transfer portal guys. So 11 linemen. You probably want to be at like at most 20 offensive linemen scholarships, if not less. So I mean, I think they're at 27 guys. So
yeah,
if you include all the people coming in. So this is we're going to see an exodus here.
Yeah. Now, that's what I was going to say. Now people think there's going to be like a super mass exodus along the offensive line. I think you'll probably lose at least 3 more, probably. I don't know how much further it goes past that because now it gets interesting because you still need bodies at the end of the day. but I could see people leaving elsewhere in order to just get down to that 85 number. But technically, I guess you could stay at 92 because of the new scholarship rule. I don't know if that's for just this season or if that's for seasons beyond this. I don't know. The NCAA changes their mind like I change underwear like once a week.
I know the NCAA they get pressured into making these decisions, and then like they have no planning behind them. It's sort of like the NIL, the COVID year. It's just like, well, yeah, you guys figure it out.
Well, that's the thing. Like a guy like Raiqwon O'Neal technically has 2 more seasons left. If you want to get into it, and it's like, what the fuck? The kid's been here since 2018.
I know.
So it does make sense, I guess, a little bit. But they have some good pieces coming in, so I don't really think there should be any worry. I think a new offensive line in general, like from left tackle to right tackle, is probably a good thing, considering none of the offensive linemen last year were really producing much. You can argue O'Neal was good, but he was the best of a bad bunch. So it's like you're only as good as your unit as a whole. So it's going to be interesting to see these guys gel and how much they gel as a group, I guess, in spring especially. So go from there and then see what happens.
I do want to talk basketball real quick. We had a game last night versus Iowa. Huge win for the program. Huge win for our March chances. One of the ugliest games we've ever seen on both sides. We obviously played fantastic defense. I don't think I've ever seen that many shot clock violations in a Rutgers game before. Like Iowa was flustered. I don't know if it was the crowd. I don't know if it was how good the defense was playing. I think it was probably a little bit of both. But Cliff probably played his best game defensively since he's been at Rutgers. We cannot finish around the rim, man. We have missed so many easy shots. I think at one point we were 3 for 10 in layups last night at halftime. Richie, what did you see out of the basketball team last night? What is encouraging you? What's discouraging you moving forward?
Best ugly win I've ever seen. It's kind of ironic because right before this, I wasn't going to post anything about it just because it was just like a little nonchalant like talk I had between me and a director of an AAU program locally. And he's like, man, I watched that game last night. And I'm like, yeah, what did you think? He goes, those rims are stiff as shit. And I'm like, that's part of the atmosphere, you know, it's like an aesthetic kind of. He's like, no, seriously, like I can guarantee you put Iowa in any other gym, they are not shooting that bad. I'm like, whatever. I get it a little bit, but that was a poor performance on Iowa.
What does the rim get wider at other arenas? They were airballing stuff left and right.
His argument was, he's like, I've been in the rack, I've been in their practice facility, and it's just you can't even like come close to being the same rims. Like the rims are just stiff. He said something about he's convinced that they're like a little bit higher in there too, which is just kind of funny.
Who is this? Sorry, I missed the first part. Just somebody.
Who is this?
Yeah, who said this?
Oh, he's a director of an AAU program, a local AAU.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't asking you for a name. I just didn't hear.
No, you're good. He was just kind of telling me, and I started laughing. I was just like, yeah, no, you could tell they're like a little stiff, but it's like, it doesn't make a huge difference, I guess. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. If you're not swishing it, yeah, I guess, but whatever. Besides the point, Cliff, if he had any type of feel around the rim, could be he'd be in the NBA next year.
Yeah.
But he has like zero feel, and he gets an offensive rebound, and it's like boom. And it's like
he rushes everything, man. Like he'll I mean, how many times have you seen this season where he misses a shot, gets a really athletic rebound, misses the shot, gets his own offensive rebound a second time, goes up for the third putback, misses that? Like, I can't imagine there's a guy in the NCAA who has had more missed putbacks than him.
Yeah, it's actually, I wish I could find that stat. Actually, I'm gonna have to do a little digging on that one because he might be leading that category. Like, holy shit, it's rough to watch, and I'm like, dude, you could be so fucking good if you just do a pump fake for one and then go up.
Yeah.
Like, and he's so athletic. There was one play, I don't know who it was in transition, but like Cliff didn't even have the ball, and his strides, his speed, I'm like, holy shit. Like, if this kid could just put it together offensively, it's a first round pick.
Yeah, he gets from like half court to the paint in like 3.5 steps.
It's absolutely ridiculous, but interesting game though. I don't think anyone pegged either team to shoot this poor. 20% from the field or 27% from the field is wild for this Iowa team that's averaging what, like
they're averaging like 86 points a game this year. Like,
damn.
Yeah, this was, I've read so many stats about how dominant of a defensive performance this was from Rutgers. I think it was like literally like the best game they've played against Big Ten competition in terms of allowed shooting percentage. Mm-hmm. One thing I did notice that I can't remember being an issue the rest of the season was a lot of cramping last night. I don't know if you noticed that. Like Cliff went down hard. That looked like a bad injury. but I don't know if you saw it at the rack itself, but his leg just like stiffened out. Like you could tell it was a cramp right away, which was thankful. And
You
then
saw the
Paul
trainer
had
run
cramps.
over and like bend his foot real quick to stretch it out, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, dude, that was pretty aggressive. Number one, I was just like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Makes sense. And then Paul, within like what 10 seconds later,
Yeah. Yep. They like gave him some kind of like, it was some kind of like packet of food or something, like an electrolyte cartridge, and he just like sucked that down, drank some water, and then he used the massage gun on him like right away. It was like
that Gatorade bottle. He literally just grabbed it. He's like, I was like, oh,
it was like a NASCAR pit crew getting him back together.
Yeah, it was wild. Their entire bench didn't score a point, which was crazy too. I don't think you'll see this Iowa team shoot this bad ever again. And yes, credit to Rutgers. They did do pretty well defensively. They got the offense, man, though. They got to fix that. It's bad. If Ron's not like, other than Ron, like no one scored double digits. Everyone else pretty much struggled. 3 of 10, 3 of 9, 2 of 9, 0 of 3, 0 of 7. Andre Hyatt, just stop shooting, please. Like, yeah, Gio's embraced a little bit more of a point guard role last night, which was nice to see. He kind of knew he didn't have it, but he still got his shots from here and there. He had that one little nice driving layup. I forget when it was, second half, early second half, late mid second half, something like that, whatever it was. The minutes distribution, it's basically looks like Tom Thibodeau's the coach.
I know that's another thing I was gonna talk to you about. They continue with the tight rotation. I want to say it was probably only like 7 players deep. Reber stepped in nicely a couple times when Cliff was out. Reber's just so much better of a passer than Cliff is. There was a beautiful pass he had. He was at the top of the key. Ron was posting up against Keegan at like the elbow, and he just was able to get like an easy dunk, or was it a layup or a dunk?
Like, perfectly. Like it was like the perfect seal, perfect lay in, everything. If you could do that every time, I mean, you use your body. Like you have the body, Ron, to outman some of these dudes. You should be able to push most of them. But yeah, Reber had a solid game. I still don't think he's the answer to the backup big issue. I think he's a solid rotational guy, but I still think they need to go out and pursue a legitimate 5 behind Cliff. I think Reber can give you a couple minutes here and there, whether that be at the 5 at times, or maybe even at the 4, because he's a little undersized, I think. But he's not going to be able to back down anyone. But he does hustle, and I give him that. I give him a lot of props for that. Oscar shouldn't see the court anymore. Mawat Mag, I honestly think, and from what I've been told, he's very scared to play his own game of basketball where he's running, like out hustling everybody, because
he's afraid to lose any more teeth.
It's injuries. Apparently it's like, it's almost like nerve damage with your teeth. It is nerves, technically. Yeah. So it's like, I heard he's very cautious with it now, and he's very nervous about doing it again.
Has he just gotten a couple really unlucky elbows or something like that?
Elbows. He died. You see him how he throws his body on the court and everywhere. And it started before Rutgers, obviously, too. So it's not just at Rutgers. Like, so I heard he's like kind of nervous, and that hinders him a little bit. Andre,
does he wear a mouth guard?
I don't know if he does, to be honest. You probably should if he does.
Because I know they're a pain in the ass. Like, it's hard to talk in them. Like, you have to take them out sometimes, like for people to understand what you're saying. Like, plenty of guys do it. Like Steph's probably the most famous version of it. He's always fucking chewing on that thing.
Oh yeah.
So
a G is basically useless.
Yep. I was surprised he made that one layup he had. It was like a similar move to what we were talking about before with Ron. He was able to basically do this like side screen thing and just get wide open. It was like a shot that bounced off the rim like 4 times. I was like, oh wow, AG made a layup. Good for him.
Yeah. I mean, this is a great win. I'm not gonna knock it. Looking towards the future, Gio's got to be better. He hasn't shot over 30% in the past 4 games since the Michigan game. Andre Hyatt has just been god awful on offense, and he hasn't done much really. I think he's averaging like 5 points a game on the year. And that was a transfer that everyone thought was going to come in and be a top 3 scorer. And the thing is, like, I hate to say it, but it seems like there's a scorer on the bench that they're not using still.
Yeah, I think that's, we keep bringing it up. I think that's just a doghouse thing. We don't know what goes on at practice. We don't know what the communication style is like there. Unfortunately, this has a feel like he's probably not going to be here next year.
If they want him to be here, they got to like play him a little bit. Like, and he's honestly, who's your main scorer next season if Caleb doesn't return?
He is currently playing for a different school.
Probably, yes. or he's at the very end of your bench.
And I'm not saying that because there is some secret transfer we have lined up. It just means that Pike is going to have to hit the portal hard next offseason.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like even the two guys you have coming in, they're not certified scorers like by any means. Like Derek Simpson's a very good guard. Can he score? Yep. Yes. Is he kind of Geo Baker like? Yes, but even Geo Baker probably and like very, very good. Like Ron needs another option too. That's what kind of sucks. And when Geo's not there, they struggle. Last night obviously is a little bit different. Ron obviously had a great game. Overall, like the other team just couldn't make a basket either, so that played a factor. But I'm intrigued to see if this game even, and on top of that, this game's Saturday. Are they even going to play?
Well, yeah. So Minnesota, in case anybody doesn't know, Minnesota was scheduled to play Penn State, I believe, this week, and that game got postponed because Minnesota has a COVID outbreak in the basketball program. They haven't made any announcement officially about the game Saturday. I'd imagine they have to make it probably by tomorrow because usually what happens with the team is that they leave the previous day, assuming there's no scheduling conflict, stay the night, play the game the following day and leave that night. So that's what I imagine the schedule is. And I can't imagine them getting on a plane Friday before they hear news if the game's going to happen or not. So
yeah, I mean, the crazy part is you only need 7 scholarship players. If you have 7 scholarship players, you're playing.
Yep. Which would mean we're gonna beat on those gopher buns if they only have 7 guys playing.
Yeah, already go sneak this one real quick. Like it's not. Yeah, they're 1-5 in conference, but they're still a pretty solid Gophers team. Like, and their 5 losses are Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota, Michigan State, Iowa, and Michigan State again. So it's not. They're a very good team. Like you could go sneak this win real quick. I don't know where it is quadrant wise. I would think.
I think it's currently a quad 2. Win,
whatever.
Or it would be a quad 2 win.
You just got to rack up wins at this point if you're Rutgers, but yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. This is it was an interesting game, a good win, good defense, bad offense on both sides, and something's got to turn around with that offense if they want to keep winning games because you are not holding teams to 46 points every day of the week.
They're most certainly not going to be able to do that. But the schedule, as we've already alluded to, it really shapes up nicely over the next 2-3 weeks for Rutgers before they start that brutal stretch. There's a clear path for Rutgers to get to 9-2 in conference before they have a big time game at the Rack on a Saturday, time yet to be announced, which means it could be a pretty big national game if we look attractive enough against Michigan State. Honestly, if we go 9-2, that'll put us at 15-6. That's right on the brink of being ranked.
Yeah, if they can win 1, 2, 3, yeah. I can see that's 4 games. Like you can't really afford to lose. You can
lose one of these, but 3 of the 4 on the road.
Where's that quadrant? What's that quadrant website? They have
I think isn't that net? Doesn't the quadrants have to do with the net rankings?
Yeah, it has to do with the net ranking, but they have like a legitimate like website for it too. And if like you click a team, it'll give you like every quadrant win and stuff.
Okay.
Danny Breslau always posts it. I just can't think of the name of it, but either or, I mean, they're gonna have to win these games. Northwestern, you can't lose. Nebraska again, right? Where is it?
Yeah, so
it's
Minnesota, Maryland, at Nebraska, and then at Northwestern. Northwestern's clearly the best team of that group, at least right now, because basketball is so streaky. I would say right now they're the best team of that group.
Nebraska's bad. They're really.
They're bad. They're winless in conference. We're facing the 4 worst teams in the conference by record for the next 4 games. So these are games that we really need for the stretch run.
Yeah, you got to win at least 3 of these, and then go into that big gauntlet and try to sneak 1 or 2, and kind of go from there. And maybe you might have to win a Big Ten tournament game too on top of that, because this year's not a great year for the Big Ten. And I think whoever just put out their bracket, Lenardi or someone, it only had 6 or 7 Big Ten teams. So you got to stay in that top 10 group or top 8 group at least to have a chance.
So the good thing is, so that stretch that we're talking about, it's a stretch of 7 games where 6 of those opponents are ranked. Of those 6 opponents, we do play 4 of them at home. So, I mean, Rack Magic is always in play there. I'd imagine we'd probably win 2 of those games.
It's the rims. It's all about the rims.
Yeah, it's the rims / the hoagies that get served in the arena now. So I'm pretty excited about this basketball team. I mean, it's an ugly brand of basketball we're playing. It's an unpredictable brand of basketball we're playing. But I mean, we're doing pretty well. We've won 6 of the last 7 games, most of those in conference.
Yeah, you gotta keep it up. Can't let this momentum go behind you, and you just gotta keep riding that high and just kind of turn it into more wins. It's not gonna win pretty. I think that's pretty clear. But if you can win ugly, a win's a win.
Yep. So, guys, we appreciate you tuning in again. I'm not even going to say anything about the next podcast. Whatever happens, happens. Let the universe decide it. But we appreciate you guys tuning in.
It's a good one. I can feel
it's going to be a good one, regardless. Content's going to be great. Richie, you got anything else for him?
No, big visitor weekend, kind of for our football. I got a post on DJ Samuels coming up in the next hour or so, whenever I get enough momentum to write it.
There you go.
I'm being lazy right now, but yeah, I'm about to write that up. Sacred Heart assistant coach talking, Tampa Bay high school coach talking about Harris Simiak. I think I went over that one already. And then this Saturday, official visits, Steve Stellanos, Lafayette transfer, and then a bunch of PWO guys. There's one that's like 6'8", 330, 320, something like that. So keep an eye out on that. Wouldn't be surprised if Rutgers landed a PWO or two this weekend. We'll see what happens.
Awesome. Yeah, he was at the game yesterday, right? The 2 Bergen kids were, at least Sadir Mitchell.
Sadir and DJ. I know Patty talked to Sadir. I don't know when that's coming, probably today, tomorrow. Trying to space some stuff out. But yeah, they both liked it a lot. They were both hanging out with their former head coach, Nuns Campanelli, brother of Bergen Catholic head coach Vito Campanelli. They're both very good prospects, both top 10 kids in state. I don't know how it's going to fare in the end. I know with Watson there, they have a very, very good shot at both now. He's been talking to both of them since his Ole Miss days. He was one of their first offers out of high school down at Ole Miss. Having him on board gives Rutgers a legitimate shot with Sadir. I think they've always had a pretty good shot with DJ, but now you have a shot at both of them. And if you can create a little bit, it doesn't even have to be a full pipeline, a little bit of a Bergen Catholic to Rutgers pipeline, then that's just a start.
So the interesting thing about both those guys is they both have like very extreme frames and body types, where like Sadir is like, you know, if we were playing football 15 years ago, he'd be like the ideal nose tackle, like for a 3-4 defense. But now that defenses are so fluid and not like locked into like a specific play style, like he does have like a tweener label. He might be too big for defensive tackle, but he's not athletic enough for defensive end. Like, you really have to, it's like the eye of the beholder on him. Same thing with DJ Samuels. He's just a little too short. Like if he was 6'2", he'd probably have, you know, schools beating down the door of him, but he's 6 foot even probably.
Yeah, that definitely hurts his recruitment. Sadir might be one of the fastest 300-pound people I've ever seen in my entire life. He's quick on his feet. He needs to learn a little bit more technique-wise. He's going to get that with one of his D-line trainers, Leroy Thompson. They're working out all the time in the off season. I'm actually supposed to go watch one of their workouts soon. I'll post that on the board and videos and all that stuff, that good stuff. But he's going to be so fucking good, man. I love Sadir's potential.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for him.
Julius Turner type, just a lot bigger. Imagine Rutgers with a massive defensive tackle a
massive cock nose. I had to do it.
I should have known that was coming. I didn't think about that.
Had to do it.
Yeah, that's all I got. I think that's all the scoop we got right now. There's a bunch of stuff on the boards too, obviously. Craig and Chris actually ran their own little podcast this morning covering the hoops game. So
nice.
Cool. Yeah, so they got, if you want more extended coverage on that, go check that out on YouTube or our front page or something, the board. But
all right, guys. Well, once again, we appreciate you for tuning in. This is another episode of the Night Report signing off.